Well, in the swirl of controversy around Trump's transition team, the sharpest criticism has been reserved for the appointment of Steve Bannon as chief strategist.
So Bannon oversees the controversial website Breitbart.com. It publishes stories that are sympathetic to the alt-right movement. Now, that site has published articles promoting white nationalism and anti-Semitism. His appointment has been cheered by members of the KKK and the American Nazi Party.
David Fahrenthold of the Washington Post company has joined us. He co-authored an article out that's detailing a number of one-on-one radio interviews that Trump did with Bannon over the course of his campaign. And he's with us now from Washington. David, how telling were those conversations about the synergy that developed between these two men?
Well, they reveal sort of a sense of what that relationship is, and it shows Bannon sort of how he sort of sucks up to Trump, how he uses flattery of the crowds at his rallies, Trump's toughness, his negotiating skills, his business acumen. He uses that flattery to sort of ingratiate himself with Trump and then to sort of frame policy questions. He's the one he sort of leads Trump in the direction he wants him to when he's talking about policy.
And these conversations, they were done as part of the radio program that Breitbart News Daily conducted. Trump very much rode that wave of the audience to the White House. How crucial was that platform for Trump over the course of this campaign?
Well, I think it was. Apparently, their traffic went way up. It was very vital, at least to Trump's hardcore, hard-right supporters, to sort of spread a positive view of Trump. In fact, in the days after the Access Hollywood tape was released, when everything seemed to be going wrong for Trump, Breitbart was one of the few sites that was standing by him and saying things are great, he's going to win. So it was a really important platform. And now Bannon will probably be a very important voice in Trump's ear as he tries to govern.
So, David, what's really fascinating about your piece, it underscores Trump's sort of malleability on policy and Bannon's ability to shape Donald Trump's opinion. So how is Bannon's voice as a disruptor unique, and why do you think he's emerged as the so-called loudest voice in the room for President-elect Trump?
Well, Bannon is somebody whose whole political aim before now was to sort of tear down the Republican establishment, to blow it up. He thought they were sellouts and compromisers. He particularly hates Paul Ryan, who's now going to be a key governing partner of Donald Trump. So it's rare to have somebody in the White House who not only is attached to a website that's promoted white nationalist and anti-Semitic viewpoints, but also somebody whose stated goal for many years was to destroy the party establishment that Trump now has to work with.
David, you point out in this article the moments when they disagree. What were those issues, and how do you think those moments might foreshadow what's to come in their relationship?
Well, we listened to a lot of these tapes. There are 9 different interviews, more than 2 hours of talking. And there was one time in which you could see them really disagree, and that was a disagreement about what should happen to immigrants who come to the U.S., study at Ivy League schools, get college degrees, and then now have to go home to their home countries because of U.S. immigration law. Trump says, and sort of unbidden, it's one of the few times in which Trump actually comes out with a policy viewpoint without being asked for it. He says, I think those people should be allowed to stay. They go back to their home countries, they become billionaires, we're missing out on that. And Bannon says, well, I don't know. Bannon says, if you look at Silicon Valley, where 2/3 or 3/4 of the CEOs are South Asian or Asian, it's clear that Bannon doesn't like that. And he feels like immigration policy should do something to stop that. So that's the one time really where they seem to really disagree on an important policy matter.
So obviously, one of the challenges for a newly elected president is that it becomes really difficult to stay connected to the movement or some of the policy positions that you had when you were campaigning once you get elected. Hello, Guantanamo, for example. And so I'm wondering, and even, David, we saw in this meeting that we're showing between the president-elect and President Obama, Donald Trump came away from that meeting saying, yeah, I talked to the president about Obamacare, and there are a couple of things that he mentioned to me that may actually go against some of the things that he said on the campaign trail. So is it Bannon's job to keep him rooted in what got Trump to Washington? Or could we see, as a lot of people have posited, that Donald Trump does his own thing?
Well, I think the most important thing to know about Trump is that he's now has surrounded himself with a number of people who have very different viewpoints, and that Trump often sort of is malleable by whoever he talks to last. I think so. You may see him break away from policy positions, sort of the hard right positions he expressed on the trail. I think another possible outcome is just kind of paralysis. And all these different people come from different parts of the party, or like Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, who's been a Democrat most of his life. They're going to come at this from really different points of view, and they're all going to try to be the last one who talks to President Trump before he makes a decision. I think what you're seeing now with the transition team and this crazy search for cabinet secretaries and other things is that Trump may have a hard time making those decisions if he's not bringing his own viewpoint to the table, if he's just waiting for somebody else to frame it and everyone wants to frame it differently.
Yeah, speaking of those appointments, we know they're going to come, but there's a common thread here with Donald Trump that he really values loyalty among these people that have supported him. How do you think he's going to reward people, especially in cabinets? You know, there's this old standing thing that presidents in years gone by have always rewarded these bundlers and fundraisers with plum ambassadorships abroad in countries that, you know, not necessarily crucial foreign policy. But do you see that happening? And how do you think his framework of loyalty is you know, a tenet of how he operates is going to affect his picks?
I think it's going to be a handicap to him because the people who were actually loyal to Trump for the long haul are quite small. And one of them, Chris Christie, has now been booted out of the inner circle, booted out into the darkness because he has this enmity with Jared Kushner, whose father Christie helped prosecute. So you're now in a situation where Trump just doesn't have enough loyalists to fill even the big positions, much less the 4,000 other positions, the U.S. attorneys and the deputy undersecretary of one thing or another. I mean, you're already seeing him run out of people, like, you know, Giuliani, Sessions, and Mike Flynn can't do everything, and they may not be able to do anything because they'll get objections from the Senate. So I think Trump's going to have to reach to a group of people beyond his loyalists because his loyalists aren't big enough to staff the government.
Yeah, and how's that loyalty thing working out for Chris Christie, as you just pointed out? David Fahrenthold at the Washington Post, we thank you.
Thank you.